What's going on?
That's John Lee, the current champ.
He's never been defeated. Holds all sorts of records, including the fastest kill.
Lots of information dropped in the last few days. August sales numbers are in. DC's December solicitations just dropped. But before I tackle those subjects, I thought I would cover the most interesting comic industry news of the last few days. Brian Michael Bendis is set to recycle yet another tired story arc when Superman reveals his identity to the world. Again. Dude, can you at least regurgitate a story from the 90s? Jeez. Todd McFarlane revealed variants for the record-breaking Spawn 301. Which cover is receiving a rose from me? Stay tuned. Frank Miller attempts to wash the Superman Year One taste from readers' mouths with his latest Dark Knight Returns entry. Just how much money can IDW Media and their comic publishing line continue losing? Here's a hint. It's a lot. Marvel digs deep into their bag of tricks by rebooting Doctor Strange with the exact same writer. That'll rejuvenate the character. And finally, Top Cow are conducting their latest talent search. Do you have what it takes to get published? There's only one way to find out. I hope you're all ready for some Geek Culture 411. It's time for the latest comic industry news. Newsarama is reporting writers Brian Michael Bendis and Greg Rucka are about to do what Lex Luthor never could in Unmasked Superman this December. As revealed in the just-released solicitations for Lois Lane 7 and Superman 18, Superman will reveal his identity to the world. While Superman 18's solicitation in itself don't spell that out, it does portend the biggest change in the Man of Steel's life ever. If you've been reading Superman comics for a time, you might be saying to yourself, but wait, didn't that already happen? Yes, it has. The reveal of Superman's double life as Clark Kent has become a common trope in superhero comics, with everyone from Lois Lane to Candid Camera revealing it to the world. The most recent example is 2015's Action Comics 41 by Greg Pak, in which Lois puts two and two together and reports Superman's secret identity to the world. The way it's framed in the December 2019 solicits, Superman has a bit more agency in this figurative unmasking this time, apparently deciding to reveal his secret identity of his own volition. This is so boring and stupid, to be honest. Superman has revealed his identity to the world multiple times, and it's never a good fit for the character. And as the Newsarama article mentioned, it happened as recently as 2015. I have heard the rumor that Bendis is going to shake it up a bit by not revealing Clark Kent as Superman's alter ego, but Lois Lane revealing that she's in fact married to Superman. This is actually an even worse way to go about it. How is Clark Kent supposed to work at the Daily Planet or live in Metropolis if everyone thinks his marriage to Lois is a sham and he's some type of superhero beard? Bendis on Superman is a complete farce. Plus, every villain in the DC universe knows who Lois Lane is. She's the most famous reporter in the world. This opens up so many new ways for villains to leverage personal relationships against Superman. Do Bendis or any of the geniuses at DC expect readers to believe Lois Lane or Superman are stupid enough to put everyone they know and love in even more danger? Revealing secret identities works for certain superheroes, but it never, ever feels genuine or right when a character as virtuous as Superman or Spider-Man do it. I'm not surprised Bendis or DC are taking the character further down this failed path. According to CBR.com, Image Comics celebrated Spawn 301 with variant covers by Alex Ross, J. Scott Campbell, Bill Sienkiewicz, and Jerome Opeña. With issue 301, Spawn has become the longest-running creator-owned comic in the world, surpassing Cerebus by Dave Sims, the previous record holder. Issue 301 is the second of a two-part arc written by Todd McFarlane himself. Spawn 301 is written by Todd McFarlane and illustrated by McFarlane, Greg Capullo, Jason Sean Alexander, Clayton Crane, Jerome Opeña, Francesco Mattina, and more. It's scheduled to go on sale October 2nd from Image Comics. As many of you know, in my opinion, Spawn 300 is the very best milestone comic in recent memory. I'm personally even more excited for 301. Not only is it the record-breaking issue, but my personal favorite comic artist, Clayton Crane, joins the art team and contributes a variant cover. I fully plan on buying the Clayton Crane version variant if it's available, but you really can't go wrong with any of these great covers. J. Scott Campbell and Alex Ross look particularly impressive as well. Can't wait to get my hands on Spawn 301 and hopefully a beautiful Clayton Crane cover. Newsarama reports Frank Miller will return to his Dark Knight Returns continuity for The Golden Child, a 48-page one-shot written by Miller with art from Raphael Grandpa and colorist Jordi Belair for DC Black Label. Reported by Entertainment Weekly, The Dark Knight Returns The Golden Child is set 3 years after The Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, and will focus on Jonathan Kent, the son of Superman and Wonder Woman, in this DC alternate continuity. Jonathan Kent appeared as an infant in The Master Race, while his sister Lara, also the child of Superman and Wonder Woman, held a more central role in the limited series. The possibility of what he could be just started coming to mind like crazy. I thought the contrast between him and Lara could be really exciting, Miller told EW. Lara has so much power and passion, so for the little boy to embody all the wisdom and intelligence of the Kryptonian race would be an exciting new dimension. He really sort of developed as a little floating Buddha, someone who, when he wasn't even a toddler yet, was speaking in full sentences and had an understanding of events that surpassed anyone else's. He's the most magical member of the family. Carrie Kelly, who debuted in the original Dark Knight Returns as Robin and then grew up to become Batwoman for Master Race, will also be a part of the Golden Child. Carrie is, as always, the smartest kid on the block, Miller said. She's also trained by someone who is not cowed by power. Even knowing that she is not a superhero in terms of power, she will not accept anything that in any way smacks of subjugation. Look at her. She began her superhero career by running away from home. She was a rebel from the get-go. Miller's take on Superman has changed over the decades, with the writer admitting he gave Superman a very hard time in the original Dark Knight Returns. With this in the current Superman Year One limited series, Miller says he celebrates the character, although he doesn't need my sympathy. Anytime a legend like Frank Miller writes a new story in the Dark Knight Returns universe, it should be celebrated and feel important. It's one of the most seminal achievements in modern age comics. I was personally let down by the quality of Miller's writing in Superman Year One. I reviewed the first issue on the channel in a very unfavorable light, and honestly didn't have the heart to review issue 2, which features far worse writing in my opinion. Me personally, I'm content remembering Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns from his prime and don't plan on reading or reviewing The Golden Child. I don't personally think the idea of an omnipotent toddler to be that interesting. I do hope he turns back the clock and finds some of his old magic and produces a comic that reminds people why he's one of the most influential comic writers in industry history. Good luck, Frank. ICV2.com is reporting IDW Publishing reported a $1.2 million operating loss in the company's Q3 ended 31 July. Most apparent IDW Media Holdings $1.5 million loss for the quarter. IDW Publishing sales were down 5% from the year-ago quarter, with a strong launch from George Takei's They Call It Us Enemy, helping to improve performance from the company's Q2 when publishing sales were down 15%. The $1.2 million operating loss for publishing was a decline in performance from the $801,000 loss in the year-ago period. Revenues in the company's other divisions, IDW Entertainment and CTM Media, were also down. IDW Media Holdings' overall revenues were down 19% to $11.5 million. Every quarter, the financial reports from IDW get worse and worse. IDW haven't been able to borrow money on the traditional market for over a year now, and they continue to report losses every single quarter. They're hoping that somehow during its upcoming fourth season, Winona Earp is going to turn their fortunes around. There's no historical data to suggest this will happen. I guess there's still a chance that the upcoming Lock and Key and October faction shows will hit, but it's likely to be far too little, far too late. If IDW makes it the next 24 months, it will be a miracle. When things finally hit rock bottom, you'll start seeing them sell off what little IP they own of value as they try to pay off investors. But all the signs are here. IDW is in serious trouble. IDW tried to play with the big boys like DC and Marvel by buying their way into broadcast television and streaming without having a well-known IP to lean on. Virtually every big-name title they publish is licensed. They can't capitalize on the popularity of Ghostbusters, G.I. Joe, Transformers, TMNT, Star Trek, or any of their well-known properties. It's too bad. I hate seeing the comic book market shrink, but this is a byproduct of their own stupidity and not properly gauging the mainstream appeal of the few IPs they actually have. This is how a free market is supposed to work. I expect Dark Horse to move into the fourth biggest comic publisher slot relatively soon. They're a much better run company that attracts much higher caliber comic creators, generally speaking. According to Newsarama, Marvel's current Doctor Strange title isn't ending. It's being relaunched as a new series titled Doctor Strange Surgeon Supreme. Writer Mark Waid continues his story of Stephen Strange entering a new era where the former surgeon's long injured hands are miraculously healed, enabling him to cut on people once more, just in time for an uprising of demon possessions. Waid will be joined by Kev Walker, who illustrated an issue of Jason Aaron's Doctor Strange run back in 2015. The publisher did not specify if Doctor Strange Surgeon Supreme would be an ongoing, limited series, or one-shot. Rebooting titles with the same writer is the most lazy, boring thing I can imagine, and it happens far too often at Marvel Comics. They play the exact same scenario with Captain Marvel, the Champions, and others, and it's never worked. And it won't work with Doctor Strange, and it sucks. There's no reason Doctor Strange shouldn't be one of Marvel's very consistent second-tier selling books. Nobody talks about Mark Waid's Doctor Strange comic because it's DOA as is, and that has everything to do with writer Mark Waid. I can see the new direction of Surgeon Supreme, which is a very lame title, but intriguing premise, having potential. But as long as Waid's involved, there's no reason to think anything will change. He hasn't had a critical or commercial comic success for some time now. His prime is so far in the rear view, it's laughable. Yet CB Cebulski and the Legion of Doofuses keep giving him ongoing comic titles. He should be confined to one-shots and miniseries, if anything at all. His reputation with fellow pros seems to be very good, but the customer is king, and they clearly don't have any room for Mark Waid-led comics these days. Marvel should honestly cut the fat and let Waid move on, but of course, they won't do that. Newsarama reports, once again Top Cow Productions is opening its doors to the next generation of comics creators with the Top Cow Talent Hunt 2019. For this year's initiative, the California-based company is asking for submissions relating to their character The Darkness and his associated characters. For writers, the company is asking for an original 20-page script. Artists must draw 8 pages based on scripts provided by Top Cow. In both cases, the deadline is February 28, 2020. This year's winners, one writer and one artist, will receive $1,000 each from Top Cow, as well as guaranteed published work, with the company following that. In addition to the winners, Top Cow will be awarding 2 runners-up with $250 each and a short story assignment. As with previous years' Top Cow Talent Hunts, this initiative is open to those who have no major publisher work published. I personally love Top Cow. They're the second best imprint behind Robert Kirkman's Skybound and Image Comics, in my opinion. In particular, I like the Top Cow universe featuring Aphrodite and Cyberforce. This is a really cool idea, and the industry needs new, exciting talents. If you're interested in throwing your hat in the ring, links to the rules and submission process are in the video description. Best of luck to any of the channel viewers who submit their work in the Top Cow Talent Hunt 2019. Finally, CBR.com reports Rooster Teeth's partnership with DC Comics is set to go well beyond RWBY and Genlock comic books, as the Austin-based studio has announced its first batch of Warner Bros. Mashup products. It's kicking things off with a line of clothes inspired by the first appearance of Batman from 1939's Detective Comics 27. Detective Comics 27 by Rooster Teeth is an exclusive capsule collection that reimagines the Dark Knight's first appearance 80 years ago as a nostalgic and fashion-forward clothing line. Furthermore, this clothing line is the very first to license artwork from the seminal 1939 DC comic book in its entirety. Detective Comics 27 by Rooster Teeth will launch on 21 September with 4 graphic tees, a printed pocket tee, a zip-up hoodie, a pullover hoodie, a 5-panel hat with printed lining, a duffel bag, and a Batman Day enamel pin. Detective Comics 27 by Rooster Teeth is the first to come from a larger partnership that will see iconic Warner Bros. Characters and themes united with Rooster Teeth brands for creative mashup merchandise. Furthermore, it won't be the last line from the company to prominently feature the Caped Crusaders likeness. I really hope these shirts are available for purchase in the Philippines, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm a huge fan of comic book tees and vintage comics. Vintage comic tees absolutely whet my appetite for the latest Batman gear. I know it's not really a news story, but I thought the shirts looked dope, and I just wanted to say how much I liked them. That does it for today's comic industry news, Brian Michael Bendis is likely putting his twist on a tired story arc by making Clark Kent Lois Lane's beard. Will I make out with my Clayton Crane Spawn 301 variant cover in October? Perhaps. Legendary Frank Miller revisits his best-known comic universe with Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child. IDW Publishing is on the brink. The Chris Real rehiring is aging like fine milk. The chances Doctor Strange can be salvaged with Mark Waid still at the helm remain less than zero. I'm putting my money on one of my viewers winning the Top Cow Talent Hunt 2019. Best of luck to all who submit. Finally, Thinking Critical YouTube confirms vintage Batman tees are dope. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Be on the lookout for videos on August comic book sales and DC's December solicitations in the near future. Also, please check out my new program, Geekspan, for even more comic industry news. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.